Hi, I'm Anirudh Suri, and I'm a non resident scholar with Carnegie India, where my work focuses on the intersection of technology, AI, and geopolitics. I've recently written a Carnegie India paper on the missing pieces in India's puzzle, talent, data, and R&D. And today I want to take this time to walk all of us through some of the key highlights of that paper. This paper explores the question of whether India specifically will be able to compete and lead in the global AI race, or whether it will remain relegated to a minor role in the global AI competition. Let me first explain why this question is important in the first place. The world, in my opinion, is today at a critical moment in the global AI race. As this global competition for leadership in AI heats up, the current trend is towards the concentration of data, capital, talent, and cutting edge research in the hands of a few firms and even fewer countries. The United States and China, the world's two AI superpowers, if they could be called that, are locked in what is today now being called an AI arms race or a global AI race for leadership, for faster development and adoption of AI. Firms from these two countries are also constantly building out new applications, commercial as well as military, for global adoption. Many of us, of course, are familiar with ChatGPT, Anthropic, and many other such US companies in the AI space. But the January 2025 release of DeepSeek R1, an open source model developed by a Chinese AI company, sparked panic in the United States AI sector, serving as yet another example of the AI race really heating up. At the same time, while the US and China remain locked in this competition, other countries, notably, I would say India, Japan, France, Germany, the UK, Singapore, the UAE, among a few others, want to prevent such concentration and are charting their own AI strategies to compete in this arena. These countries are therefore attempting to find ways to avoid being relegated to simply an observer status in this race. Which brings me to the question of where does India stand in this race then? With the launch of the Indian National AI Mission in 2024, the Indian government has laid out its framework for its approach to AI competitiveness. Early in March 2024, so almost a year ago now, the Indian cabinet approved what it called a comprehensive national level Indian AI mission with a budget outlay of about 10,371 crores or roughly $1.3 billion dollars over a period of 5 years. This mission, also known as the India AI mission, was launched noting that success in the AI race will require multiple pieces of the AI puzzle to be put in place. Accordingly, it laid out 7 key pillars of the AI stack: the computing or AI infrastructure, or chips, as many of us know them, data, talent, R&D, capital, algorithms, and applications. And I'll try and use this framework to also evaluate whether India is doing enough or where the missing gaps are. If you look at how over the last year the India AI mission has panned out, the focus has been practically on two of those 7 elements. One, ensuring the availability of AI chips and compute capacity, and to some extent, building sovereign or Indic language models. In my paper, I argue that we have not in India paid enough attention to, or acted towards, or put significant resources behind the other three key enabling elements of AI competitiveness, which in my opinion are data, talent, and R&D. Without plugging these three fundamental pieces, I argue that India is likely to fall short of its stated ambitions. Paper therefore argues and lays out the roadmap for India if it wants to meet its larger stated ambition of becoming a global leader in AI, how to fill gaps in these three areas. So let me now go through the three missing pieces in India's AI puzzle, as I've called them: the talent gap, the data gap, and the R&D gap. On the talent piece, India has an overall shortage, despite widely held opinion that India has massive numbers of AI talent. India has an overall shortage, as do most other countries. A lot of India's top tier talent is migrating out of India and therefore resides in largely the US and to some extent Europe. The quality of talent and the need for upskilling in India is also massive. And I argue that we also have a suboptimal mix of high, mid, and low tier AI talent within India. On the data piece, I argue that India, if you break the data gap down, India has lack of access to large volumes of existing data that could be leveraged for development of AI models and AI applications. We have sparse proprietary or unique data within India available today to startups and researchers. The data that is available is siloed, unstructured, and I would say in many ways, the quality of it is poor. And finally, I would say there's an over reliance on the government to figure out the solution to this data gap. Even well funded Indian AI startups, such as Sarvam, which has also recently been selected by the Indian government to lead the sovereign LLM efforts, has in the past pointed to the fact that not enough data is available to it for its models, and that it has been starting to rely on synthetic data for its models training. The third gap, the R&D gap, I would break down as follows. One, I believe that there is very, very low R&D spending on AI and innovation in general in India compared to other countries in this global AI race by both the public and the private sectors. There's a dearth of excellent, cutting edge, globally competitive institutions in India that are focused on AI R&D. India is falling behind significantly on AI patents if you compare it to other countries, even though on AI research and AI publications, it's moving up quite significantly over the last 3-4 years. There's lack of cutting edge AI infrastructure available to its researchers. And finally, the centers of excellence that have been set up by the Indian government under its AI mission are, in my opinion, inadequately resourced. Which brings me to the question of what can India do to plug these missing pieces? Let me again use talent, R&D, and data pieces to go through some of the key policy recommendations that the paper presents. One, India must double down on boosting its AI talent and build up an optimal mix of top tier, middle, and low tier AI talent. More details of which are, of course, I have outlined in the paper itself. While Indian IT services firms, global AI majors, existing global capability centers are doing their bit to make the Indian IT workforce to become more AI enabled and to upskill India's existing IT services talent, I don't think that that will be enough. And that's what the paper argues, that India will actually need to nurture, attract, and retain cutting edge AI talent or top tier AI talent within India to ensure that India then and Indian companies, therefore, can create globally competitive AI innovations. Second, on the data piece, India must build up its own digital public data that is today not necessarily available on the World Wide Web. Despite being one of the largest internet smartphone markets with increasing number of digital transactions being done by its tech savvy population, it's the American and the Chinese firms that have an edge on the data aspect as well vis-a-vis China. The vast majority of the digital footprint of Indians is today locked within platforms owned by global firms. Therefore, this paper shows that to accelerate its own unique data advantage and to use data for oil, as people have made the analogy, India will need to find ways, sustainable, scalable ways, to proliferate its multilingual data, leverage existing multilingual data in archives, television data sets, past newspapers, and other such data sets to really make multilingual data available to its companies, researchers on a scalable basis. We'll have to unlock government data sets on an ongoing basis and make them available in structured ways, easily usable ways for Indian startups to innovate on top of that. Finally, on the R&D piece, the paper specifies certain key recommendations. There has to be a joint public-private push for greater AI R&D spending, industry-academia partnerships. These partnerships and the increased funding should have a clear focus. India should not be focusing on everything within that AI R&D ecosystem, but to find specific sectors or subspaces to focus its R&D on. It'll have to empower its AI research parks and the centers of excellence to become globally competitive so it can attract some of the best global and Indian talent to come and do research within these COEs, and also to leverage talent sitting in today's R&D centers globally in India so that some of this talent can come out and start doing their own research in the field of AI. To sum up, I would argue that the paper has laid out a very clear, substantiated argument to recommend that India must balance its AI for all strategy, as has been outlined by the Niti Aayog and METI, balance that focus on AI for all with a strategy for boosting India's competitiveness in AI. And if there were three pieces I would leave everyone with out of the paper, it'd be one, India must fix its top tier research talent problem. Second, it must unlock existing multilingual data sets. And third, attract the best talent best STEM talent from across the global south, and of course within India and outside, to come work in the Indian AI ecosystem. And with these pieces, India could have a great shot at actually winning or leading in the global AI race. The entire paper, for those who are interested, is available on the Carnegie India website, and I'd encourage all of you to go read that. And the link for the paper will also be available in the description for this video. Thank you, and I hope that this paper sparks ideas and questions for all of you to explore further.